The coffee cup hit the marble floor and shattered into dozens of pieces. Every executive in the boardroom froze as the paralyzed CEO slowly turned her wheelchair toward the door. Another assistant had just walked out without saying goodbye. It was the 12th resignation in less than 3 months. No one could survive a single day working beside the woman the business world called the Iron CEO. But as the silence settled over the room, one man quietly stepped forward, picked up the broken cup with his bare hands, and calmly said he would clean the mess before starting work. He was a single father who had already survived far worse than an angry boss. He wasn't there because he needed an easy job. He was there because his little daughter needed hope, and he had promised her that no matter how hard life became, he would never walk away from the people who needed him. Before we continue this unforgettable journey, if you believe kindness is stronger than pride, and that everyone deserves a second chance, please like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to Beyond Kindness for more emotional stories that remind us the smallest acts of compassion can change lives forever. His name was Daniel Carter. 3 years earlier, his world had collapsed the night his wife passed away after a sudden illness, leaving him alone to raise their 6-year-old daughter, Lily. Since then, every morning began before sunrise. He packed school lunches, braided Lily's hair after watching countless tutorial videos, worked temporary jobs during the day, and spent every evening helping with homework before quietly worrying about unpaid bills after she had fallen asleep. Life had become a never-ending test of endurance, but Daniel never allowed his daughter to see the fear hidden behind his tired smile. She believed her father could fix anything, and somehow he kept trying to prove her right. When Daniel heard about the assistant position at Hawthorne Global Industries, everyone warned him to stay away. The salary was exceptional, but the stories were even more famous. Every assistant either quit or was fired before sunset. Some claimed the CEO expected perfection impossible for any human being. Others insisted she deliberately pushed people until they broke. Recruiters had stopped recommending candidates because the company's reputation frightened away experienced professionals. Yet Daniel didn't have the luxury of refusing opportunity. Lily's school fees were overdue. The rent was weeks behind, and the electricity company had already sent its final warning. The CEO's name was Victoria Hawthorne. At only 38 years old, she had built one of the country's fastest-growing technology companies. Investors admired her intelligence, competitors feared her determination, and employees respected her results while quietly fearing her impossible standards. 5 years earlier, a devastating accident had left her permanently paralyzed from the waist down. Although she returned to work within months, something inside her had changed forever. The warm, ambitious entrepreneur disappeared, replaced by a woman who trusted no one and expected disappointment before people even had the chance to prove themselves. Every mistake reminded her of the life she had lost, and every new assistant became another person she expected would eventually abandon her. Daniel arrived for his interview, wearing the only suit he owned. It had been carefully stitched at the sleeves where the fabric had begun to tear, and although it wasn't expensive, it was spotless. He wasn't the most qualified applicant in the waiting room. Others carried impressive resumes filled with prestigious companies and executive experience. Daniel carried little more than determination, and a photograph of Lily tucked inside his wallet, reminding him exactly why failure was not an option. The interview lasted less than 10 minutes. Victoria barely looked at his resume. Instead, she observed the exhaustion beneath his eyes, the roughness of his hands, and the quiet confidence in his posture. She challenged him with impossible schedules, impossible expectations, and impossible workloads. Most candidates tried to negotiate or impress her with promises. Daniel simply answered every question honestly. He admitted he didn't know everything, but he had never stopped learning. He admitted he made mistakes, but he always accepted responsibility. Most importantly, he admitted that quitting had never solved a single problem in his life. For the first time in months, Victoria hesitated before ending an interview. There was something different about this man. He wasn't trying to outsmart her or flatter her. He wasn't intimidated by her reputation either. He looked at her not as a powerful CEO sitting in a wheelchair, but as another human being carrying invisible pain. Late that afternoon, Daniel received the call offering him the job. Friends told him he would probably be unemployed again before breakfast the next morning. Even Lily asked whether he was nervous. Daniel smiled, kissed the top of her head, and told her that sometimes the hardest doors lead to the greatest blessings. Neither of them could have imagined that his very first day at Hawthorne Global Industries would uncover a heartbreaking truth hidden behind Victoria's cold reputation, a truth that would change both of their lives forever. Daniel arrived at the office before sunrise on his first day. The cleaning staff were still polishing the marble floors, and the hallways echoed with silence. Within minutes, he began noticing something unusual. Employees spoke in whispers whenever Victoria's wheelchair appeared around the corner. They respected her brilliance, but nobody truly knew her anymore. Every assistant had left behind a half-empty desk, unfinished notebooks, and stories about impossible expectations. Daniel quietly organized his workspace without asking questions. He had learned long ago that people often reveal their real struggles through their actions, not their words. The morning became a relentless storm. Victoria assigned him meetings that overlapped, documents that needed immediate corrections, and urgent phone calls while expecting detailed reports at the same time. She intentionally changed schedules without warning and criticized tiny mistakes that most executives would have ignored. By lunchtime, several managers were already exchanging knowing glances, convinced the new assistant would soon pack his belongings like everyone else. Daniel felt the pressure building inside him, but every time frustration threatened to take over, he pictured Lily waiting for him at home, believing her father could overcome anything. That simple thought gave him enough strength to take another breath and continue. Late that afternoon, something unexpected happened. While preparing for an important investor meeting, Victoria accidentally knocked an expensive crystal picture frame from her desk. It shattered across the floor, revealing an old family photograph. For a brief second, Daniel noticed something no one else had seen. Victoria's confident expression disappeared, replaced by deep sadness. She stared silently at the picture, as though the broken glass had reopened wounds that had never healed. Without saying a word, Daniel carefully gathered every piece of the frame, protected the photograph from the broken glass, and placed it gently on her desk. He didn't ask personal questions or offer empty sympathy. He simply returned to his work. That quiet act unsettled Victoria more than any speech could have. Everyone else either feared her or tried to impress her. Daniel had done neither. He had simply noticed her pain and respected it. As evening approached, a heavy rainstorm covered the city. Most employees rushed home, but Daniel remained behind because several reports still needed finishing before morning. While walking through the nearly empty executive floor, he heard a faint sound coming from Victoria's office. The powerful CEO sat alone beside the dark window, staring at the rain without touching the paperwork surrounding her. The confidence she displayed during business hours had completely vanished. In that lonely silence, she looked less like one of the country's most successful executives, and more like someone carrying years of grief that no amount of money could erase. Daniel quietly prepared a fresh cup of coffee and placed it on the corner of her desk before returning to his own work. There were no speeches, no attempt to earn praise, and no expectation of gratitude. It was simply one exhausted human being showing kindness to another. The following morning surprised the entire company. Daniel returned exactly on time. The receptionist blinked in disbelief. Several executives whispered to each other. One assistant manager even joked that perhaps Daniel had forgotten to resign. Nobody could understand why he had come back after surviving the impossible first day. But Daniel wasn't thinking about the company's reputation. Before leaving home, Lily had hugged him tightly and slipped a tiny folded note into his jacket pocket. During a short break, he finally opened it. Written in colorful crayons were the words, "Daddy, kind people never lose. I'm proud of you." His eyes filled with tears as he carefully folded the note and placed it back into his wallet beside her photograph. In that moment, he realized that success wasn't measured by promotions or salaries. It was measured by the promises we keep when life becomes difficult. Unknown to Daniel, Victoria had witnessed him reading the note through the partially open office door. For the first time in years, she wondered if strength wasn't about pushing everyone away. Perhaps real strength